Talk about what percentage of marketplace will be partner transacted. I agree with what I've seen historically. That's going to be at least a third transacted. I've seen other discussions and papers where, people think this will be a much higher percentage of partner touched. And I absolutely agree with that.
Join our 5-week course on cloud marketplaces and learn how to tap into the $250 billion spend that enterprises have committed to AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud. Discover the future of go-to-market with Roman. During weekly sessions, you'll learn how to leverage this fast-growing channel and network with industry experts and partnership leaders. We'll dive into marketplace strategies, internal buy-in, building relationships with the cloud, and mastering co-sell. Join our upcoming cohort.
Hi, Darren. You are lead of commercial marketplace in Microsoft for UK services partners, and you are highly respected in your team. Big congrats, by the way, on winning Players Player Award in 2023. You have a lot of experience in leading channel in the UK and Northern Europe for AWS Marketplace before, so you're one of the best people to dive deep into partnerships and how partners interact with marketplaces, which is motion even sort of less understood comparing with like marketplace, right? So let's start with the big picture. Marketplaces, particularly Microsoft for Cloud, have seen sort of insane growth in the last couple of years, but especially in the last year. So can you highlight what are the trends behind this, and maybe like what are the reasons why Microsoft Cloud is surging, 138% year over year?
Again, for having me on to have this discussion, really looking forward to it. I think, I've been lucky enough to have been around kind of consumption economics since my days of WebEx. And as you said, I was in another hyperscaler for 5 years before having the pleasure of joining Microsoft. So actually, we're a long way on this journey. Why are marketplaces growing? You mentioned that 138% figure in Microsoft. I think the public figure we now talk about is 238% increase in marketplace build sales year on year. And that's the public figure. The where we are now, having released some new mechanisms, is actually much, much bigger than that. And you're going to see some of those numbers grow. Reasons why, it's all the dynamics in changes in buying modalities that I think hopefully most of us now know about. The fact that we are becoming digital buyers, we want a digital first experience. As customers' buying modalities change, as I say, and maybe line of business buying becomes more prevalent, so those IT purchasing decisions become disseminated across the organization. And actually, as our population matures and the millennial buyer becomes more prevalent in the workplace as well, they're much more used to that digital buying experience. And then you look at the drivers that the hyperscalers are putting in place. We know that cloud marketplace experiences will start with decrementing that cloud commit, the Mac in the Microsoft space. And actually, I think there's a real misnomer now that that's the only reason why still people are using cloud marketplaces. Absolutely not true. You look at what the analysts now talk about that you and I both know, people like Tackle.io. We really see this in the market. This is any and every buyer. And customers are using the tools within the platform, particularly to deliver governance and guardrails and, get to a time to value much, much quicker, maybe to eliminate SaaS sprawl. They're using these platforms to manage their automated software deployment. So, this journey that some people still perceive is early, actually, I'd refute that and say we are 8, 9, 10, 11 years in, and we're in the mass adoption phase, and this is everywhere. So, lots more to talk about as to why this is a big market. But, all the moves, all the direction is basically towards cloud marketplaces, I believe, and the partnerships and acceleration of those partnerships that they drive.
Marketplaces obviously started as a direct way to connect customers of clouds, hyperscalers with third-party software, right? But then it became sort of critical that not only that motion is becoming very important, but also partners becoming critical to spread it and help other companies to sell their software on marketplaces. And can you talk a little bit more on evolution of channel partners and different type of partners around marketplace, and I think because you've been in this specific subset, right, of marketplaces for a decent period of time.
Got to say this has been my area of specialization, and let's call it an area of learning for kind of 6-7 years now, and I think it's probably the most important and often overlooked approach of this kind of tripartite partnering, that actually a partner is really important to a marketplace journey. We talk to customers all the time that you really want a partner to be front and center and trusted advisor for their modernizing application portfolio, and they want to be able to consume that modernizing application portfolio in a modern way, but they do need guidance on what that ecosystem of software looks like. And I think if you look at the way cloud marketplaces have evolved, certainly some of the other marketplaces may be built first thinking this will be about channel replacement. I'm pleased to say I think the whole market now knows that's absolutely not the case. And the partner pedigree in Microsoft, which has been a real learning for me actually, over the last year, there is an incredible partner pedigree within the Microsoft world. And this is a really powerful mechanism that we're now overlaying in these partners to allow them to bring together an ecosystem of modernizing ISVs, and it's marketplaces, Roman, are all about, as we know, it's all about automation. There's a lot of certainly fear, uncertainty, and doubt in the channel world that this is about replacing everything that the channel partner does. Absolutely not. This is about automated delivery of best-in-class software in the cloud that's elastically delivered. And that's an opportunity for Microsoft, the hyperscalers as a whole. It's an absolute opportunity for the ISVs, and it should be seen as net new incremental. This is absolutely not about breaking, the great channel intimacy and processes that, many of those ISVs and channel partners share today. It's about augmenting it and accelerating it. It's about growing that opportunity and adding more customer value. And if you look at our CSPs within the Microsoft world, particularly, certainly in the UK, cloud solution providers, the CSP process, that's where our partners manage the billing and the services for all their customers' Azure consumption, typically mid-market, SMB, SMC. But that can represent 25 to 40% of a partner's customer base. That's a really important customer segment that actually those partners own that customer relationship start to finish. And they're going to be best placed to help those customers modernize. And they're using cloud marketplaces to deliver elastically and help the customer modernize their application portfolio. So it's really interesting times and lots of value to be had in all those partner spots.
I was very kind of excited to talk about it today because Microsoft obviously is sort of born and bred in general world, right? They started as partner-centric organization, and they continue to do that. To your point about introducing and kind of looping in channel partners, Microsoft obviously introduced MPPO, multi-partner private offers, right, earlier this year. I would love you to give us like a glimpse where possible, how is it going, and how big this could be.
Great question. And I have to say it's really early doors, and it's something I'm super excited to join Microsoft to help the corp team bring to bear and bring this to life with the getting that channel value. I think the last count, we state within Microsoft we have something like 90,000 partners globally. It's a huge partner ecosystem. And from a marketplace perspective, as you've just said, MPO, as we've called it now, we've dropped a P, so it's multi-party private offers, or MPO. We announced at Inspire in July this year, and is general availability for US partners, both ISV and services partners, and US customers. Shortly to come to the UK later on this calendar year, hopefully around November time, and then out across the rest of the world and rest of Europe, during next calendar year. So we are 2 months in the US, and as much as we don't have numbers to release yet, I can, in this circle of trust here, amongst amongst the people that follow you, Roman, it's incredibly successful. and it's taken some time to get there. And I just, to cover that a little bit briefly, I think what we've got within the Microsoft ecosystem, we've talked briefly about the pedigree of the partner space. Actually, from a platform perspective, it's the other thing that I've really learned since coming here. You know, the pedigree in our platforms is huge, and it's not just a standalone commerce platform. So the hooks and the connections into the partner tools that Microsoft already has, things like Partner Center, are quite incredible. I can understand how it's taken time to bring this multi-party private offer mechanism to bear, because it's not just a standalone commerce system. So when we talk about, getting partners to stand up non-transactable contact me listings, within the Microsoft world, that's a lead generation phase. As much as that's non-transactable, it's not driving marketplace build sales. It is giving partners some insight into, what their customers are looking at within their listings and giving them a lead flow. Now we want to get that to transactable, and we want to get to the multi-party private offer where the channel partners are delivering, net new incremental software and services business for their customers with this modernizing set of ISVs. I'm giving you a really long-winded answer, Roman. I apologize, but I think it's super interesting. What will MPO do? I think, a personal view here, so not necessarily the Microsoft view. I think that's yet to be proven, but I think this is the most transformational channel mechanism Microsoft will bring to its partners probably over the next 3 years, as we start to also double down on the AI opportunity for our partners as well, and the pedigree that Microsoft has there. Um, you bring these two worlds together of delivering best-in-class software, curation and creation of those ecosystems of best-in-class software vendors, and the AI opportunity into those vendors that are building with those solutions. You've got a really, really powerful machine.
Canalys suggested, we talked with Jim about, he suggested that 24% of deals are partner-led. Microsoft said that around sort of 3% of deals are kind of partner-led. Given these numbers, what do you think the future of partners and kind of in marketplace dynamics? And maybe like to tie into that, the number that Canalys is also sharing is that almost 2/3 of the entire IT market is driven by services, and I think partners play a sort of big role in services. I'm curious, like, how do you see this all sort of playing out until today, and maybe like a little bit into the future?
I think obviously we've yet to bring this to life, the full partner multi-party private offer mechanism outside of the US. So we've yet to prove out these figures. I will say though that with the preview that we ran in the US, and how we've started, you know within the US territory, partners that have started to deliver multi-party private offers. So that's the end customer controlling the transaction with the partner, wrap over the top. Those partners have done as many, if not more, CSP transactions where they're a CSP as they have done MPO transactions. So when we talk about what percentage of marketplace will be partner transacted, I agree with what I've seen historically. That's going to be at least a third transacted. I've seen other discussions and papers where people think this will be a much higher percentage of partner touched, and I absolutely agree with that. With our UK partners that have built with other hyperscalers, I've seen the savvy salespeople and sales teams really take to heart this modernizing application portfolio, and it's some of the secret sauce that we can maybe get to, that maybe ISVs don't necessarily know. It's putting a modernizing message. I keep saying that word, but it's bringing a cost optimization message to their potentially complicated IT solution, and that's getting partner account managers much more comfortable with having a discussion with their customers about, are you aware of these vendors? And we can maybe talk through some of the vendors that are doing this, really, really well. The point I'm trying to get to, Roman, is I think it will be a very partner-centered world, and I think 33% is the baseline of of partners transacting in marketplace. Of course, there's always going to be wanting the enterprise players, always going to be the enterprise players, sorry, that are transacting with a direct private offer. But I think the partner value now is really clear, and the services piece. Services transactability, I think, is still relatively new. It's something we're working on to make those huge amounts of contact me and actually high value lead flow contact me listings that we have within the catalog. Um, we're working towards making that transactable. It does have a different tax profile, and if I'm honest, getting into the weeds of it, I don't see a time when any hyperscaler would ever allow partner services to be retiring those cloud commitments. So there's definitely a world where these two this comes together. What transactability looks like for that, I'm still not sure. There is certainly high value from a partner in bundling these offers together and having a services wrap around that. But today, and it's an often missed service, that cost optimization, best value buying, digital procurement advisory, as we've seen a couple of partners in the UK start to build out services around how customers can buy more appropriately and use the governance and guardrails tools internally with partner approaches to help deliver that world. So it's a very woolly answer, Roman. I'm sorry, but it's evolving. This is about product first and automation of the product in the catalog, to be super clear. And there's definitely a set of services that will pull that through. The direction of travel is up and quickly up, I think, in both those worlds.
That's very insightful. And it ties nicely into our next question that I wanted to ask. Deconstructing dynamics, what are the partners has been like successful, maybe historically, and especially in this sort of new motion in the context of marketplace. So what do you see? What is the partner types, like most common business models, and maybe something that to double click on what you mentioned about modernizing.
First of all, I've got to say this is relevant to all partner types that are serving a customer with software. And I think there's some common misconceptions within the selling partner community that this is about the hyperscalers taking away their licensing revenue. And as much as there might be a small element of that being impacted, I think that we've got to, the services partner world largely needs to recognize this is about automation. It's going to be about SaaS. 80% plus of what we do in the Microsoft commercial marketplace is about SaaS. And yes, there's going to be virtual machines and containers and other modernizing cloud delivery methodologies, but this is about elasticity. So think about this as automated SaaS entitlement. I think a lot of partners, or certainly the partners that haven't necessarily understood the opportunity yet, see the cloud marketplace world as a potential threat. The ones that have done this well, maybe the partners that have seen this, and if you've seen some of my posts on LinkedIn, Roman, I talk about next generation channel partners and maybe next generation personas within those partners. Because a very traditional channel organization that's adding value to their customers will have very well built and baked processes for delivering to their customers in a buying and selling relationship. And those people that have worked in those worlds for quite some time may well struggle to see the benefits of some of this new agent accounting process where Microsoft, for example, is the marketplace operator, because they think that's going to be a loss of much of their business. Actually, this is net new incremental in many cases. It will take partners to new customers. It accelerates deals. It's about growth of the overall margin share and technology share within customers, and it's about building these ecosystems. So the partners that have done this well have embraced that next generation thinking, and I've got to say it's probably a subset of people within those partners that can get together and help build these new operational cadences. So it's about, how do we build a program? How do we define our ISVs that we go to market with? Are those ISVs modernizing? I guess it's about asking the right questions, isn't it? I've seen some super smart services partners that have actually looked at frameworks of managing their ISVs. So what I mean by that is they will assess their ISV's marketplace propensity. Do they compensate their sellers neutrally, regardless of route to market? Do they even incent a cloud marketplace delivery mechanism? How do they interact with the marketplace provider's listing fee? The smart ISV will be taking that listing fee as an operational cost. They won't be front loading that into their own or the partner sales organization, because they'll be seeing the benefits of this net new incremental. So I think there's some secret sauce in here. The attributes of successful partners are actually able to get over some of these really common objections and see that there is a benefit of driving net new incremental profitability, and that overall will not impact, the bottom line number and existing transacting methods. And where do people fall down? I think it's not moving fast enough sometimes. I've seen some really successful services partner businesses grow with cloud marketplaces because they've captured this opportunity and they've helped salespeople understand this is a net new opportunity. And I think we've got chance within MPO as we start to roll that out. In Microsoft, we've got a real opportunity. Partners got a real opportunity to take a first mover advantage, to actually add greater value to their customers and deliver this new modernizing application portfolio consumable in a modern way.
Great message. And I think we can maybe like spend another 3 hours
We could.
unbundling like what you just said, because there's so many great nuggets. But I'm personally very curious, like how do you measure and how do you distinguish the most successful partners in the context of Microsoft Marketplace, and what do you see the most common attributes? Maybe you'll give like a couple of examples in terms of how do they work sort of with user customers or like maybe ISVs themselves.
We've changed some of these metrics, Roman. I think there's some, there's been a very good. We all talk about IP co-sell with, within our worlds, don't we? And, we all recognize that. I think that co-sell can be complicated and understanding the value through that process can be awkward. Actually, Microsoft, in Circle of Trust here, we've pivoted to a marketplace build sales approach to, within our sellers, and ultimately that will be out across our partner community as well. So to move that very traditional IP co-sell, where we are having a joined up sales approach, to now be driving through the procurement transformation benefits of the catalog to marketplace build sales, I think is a huge change. We are the aspiration for this year, and I should say that the message within Microsoft is that this is the year of the marketplace. So, in order to drive some of that change, when we're talking about evaluation of partners, we've now quoted our sellers on MBS, on marketplace build sales. So it's not just compensation, it's actually quoting them. That really says something about the statement to market that Microsoft wants to capture this build versus buy mentality. And I think as the partner world evolves, MBS will become more important. Actually, numbers of transactions will become more important. And that could be any size. We in the channel world and in the ISV world have always talked about, we like the big whales, we like to talk about the big deals. But actually, when you're talking about building muscle memory with a new transaction mechanism, it's the volume and the repeatability of that transaction that's really important. So we want to be ensuring that, we're measuring numbers of transactions. I think that's how we'll end up starting to measure success and starting to understand where we guide our resource. The message to the channel is both ISV and, services partner together. How are we working together to drive a high volume of transactions through marketplace? And then how are we taking that value and making it repeatable? So measurement of MBS, measurement of number of transactions. And again, I think the beauty of this here is this will ultimately come into all of the partner incentives that Microsoft drives today and has done so well for many, many years. The well-built and baked programs that Microsoft has will start to include those marketplace elements of MBS and transaction count. So the short answer is, Roman, not very good at giving short answers, I apologize, but it's an evolving world and a very exciting one. And we've really set the baseline, I think, for starting with this quota of MBS to drive this procurement transformation and the build versus buy mentality.
I know firsthand, because we share a lot of content and we do courses now. a lot of people kind of struggle to understand sort of marketplace as a concept. It sounds like simple, almost like super straightforward, but then there's a lot of nuances. And then if you overlay on top of that cross-sell, right, it sort of became like even more difficult. It's great that you're simplifying it, and I think it's an amazing move that you do marketplace kind of driven sales. But if you add to this equation channel partners and services partners, this sounds like really difficult to wrap your head around it, right? So what should be true for those partners and how they worked with ISVs and Microsoft? What should be true so they would instead sort of simplify and accelerate the process, not overcomplicate it?
Great question. And I don't think I have all the answers at all in terms of what absolute good looks like, because this is still evolving. We are 2 months into MPO, to multi-party private offers. And we're about to launch that globally. I think that is an instrumental driver because it is a simplification of those processes. I think partners, need to be clear to their customers and their ISV partners when and where and the value thereof of transacting with marketplaces, the mechanism of delivery. So it's understanding the nuances of buying and selling. I still have conversations with both sets of partners today that maybe, they've stood up a listing within marketplace and they haven't built GTM around that listing. And they expect a huge amount of self-service. Well, GTM is still really important. And I still have conversations with services partners that think their value here is about standing up their own listings, about just standing up listings. So an education around a private offer process. My point here is there's a difference in how customers find, try, and test and buy at a list price within cloud marketplaces. That buying motion, that's absolutely about automation and getting best value automated software delivery that's scalable into all lines of business within a customer. But then the private offer process doesn't involve standing up a listing. It's exactly what it says. And I think this is it's still quite misunderstood across the partner base. A selling partner, if we think about the personas of marketplace, you have the publisher, you have the selling partner or the agent, and then you have the customer. And actually, partners could be any one of those. So, your question about simplicity, I think partners need to understand, what these different dynamics are. And it's quite simple once you drill into it, but I can understand the perceived complexity. And I think once they understand the flow, we can then jointly start to understand what value we can bring at each of these stages. And I'll be honest, Roman, I think all the hyperscalers probably need to do a better job of driving simplification. There are, outside of Microsoft, I know, a certain other big hyperscalers done a fantastic job of building a super slick commerce platform. Actually, I believe the pedigree that Microsoft has in this fantastic platform, which is not just about commerce, it's about everything that sits within our portfolio. There is a huge opportunity to simplify that. And if you look at, what we're starting to think about and build, the direction of travel will be building in some of those tools that we're market leading in, like the AI worlds, to help some of that simplification, to help drive some of that. Again, co-sell needs to be simpler, and the customer value needs to be front and center. But actually understanding the operational processes and understanding where we can add value at each stage, I think is key to bringing together this world of ecosystems and partners.
Great point. And obviously, if you look at how startups build, you start with something messy, right? And then you simplify and improve and
Scrappy. Yeah.
refines the process. And I think given that you have a partner pedigree and then B, you have gravity of your budget, meaning that there's a lot of basically money and then cloud consumption going through the ecosystem, I think this will draw more ISVs and channel partners. It's almost inevitable in my humble opinion, that
I'd agree.
it will sort of improve, and obviously this motion will be simplified and refined. When partners think about what they should be doing in marketplace, where do you see they should be focusing on these days? I mean, I understand there's different partners, but if you think about like where people get a little bit lost, they see this thousands of listings, right? They see many competitors, and they struggle to wrap their heads how to differentiate themselves. What's your advice?
That focus element has to be on working backwards from the customer, as I said, and it's about finding the right tools and platforms that they want to evolve with, and then giving them trusted advice as to, what that should look like. To boil down those partners, it's finding the high propensity ISVs that can deliver good value. And, there's some great cases of both channel first and marketplace first ISVs, organizations like Nerdio. Nerdio is an AVD management platform, for anybody that's delivering Azure Virtual Desktop. And I'm not just advocating for Nerdio here, but the reason why it's a great example, I feel, is that they're partner first. It's high value, it's sticky, it's repeatable. Customer ROI is really quick, and it's modernizing and optimizing a customer's deployment of the Azure Virtual Desktop world. Absolutely partner first. And where I think both salespeople and partner organizations that get behind Nerdio can understand the acceleration that will bring their customers. And that then, increases that customer trust and intimacy, and customers want to come and do more. And, in a very traditional world, a very traditional set of ISVs, fantastic ISVs like Fortinet, for example, best-in-class security solutions. There is an element of compete within the Microsoft world, but actually what Fortinet are really clever at doing is delivering elastically through cloud marketplaces. So I'd ask, partners to look at the partners that they're working with today, look at the ones that understand this next generation message, the next generation channel, the next generation approach, because those are the ones that are going to drive automation and incremental net new and drive this new services world within our joint customers.
Would love to talk a little bit more about next generation channel partners, but before that, we talked with Jay McBain, and he's saying that big part of partners basically putting together all this 7 layers of or sort of multi-layers of software and services on the marketplace, and then not getting incentivized for that, because I think they sort of getting incentivized in other ways. Like, for example, they add their own software, or they add their sort of own service on top of that. How do you advise sort of smart ISVs to work with their partners and figure out like how to incentivize them properly, so these partners will drive more business through the marketplace?
I think those partners have got to embrace the new mechanisms, Roman. They've got to embrace the partner mechanism, whether that's an ISV partner or whether that's a selling partner. And there is an opportunity here, and we are working on how we, extend that value chain into the tier 2 world, to increase that value element. So, potentially bringing in the way distribution would work with an MPO, type process flow. Those partners have got to be in the mechanics of that, and they've got to understand the agile mechanics of those processes, to get some value and margin out of it. But there has to be value through the chain. And I think it's not about the point transaction. It's about the whole encompass value of doing this many times with many different ISVs that have got some adjacencies and that are adding cumulatively value to a customer. Ecosystems and adjacencies are where those services are, extended services, going to come from. Digital procurement advisory. There is huge value to be had and still margin to be had, and fast and large to be had as well, but still helping the customer reduce their own cost, accelerate their time to value. It's bringing this whole world together. I encourage partners to absolutely be vested in the mechanisms.
From the point of view of ISVs, right? Some of them are starting with Microsoft, and some of them don't have, a lot of relationship with channel partners in Microsoft ecosystem. How do you advise those ISVs to kickstart the motion and then get more traction sort of faster?
I think it's really simple, Roman. It's get transactable within Azure and Azure Marketplace. And there are some gates to doing that, in that, we require that 50% of the architecture is built within Azure in order to get access to Marketplace.
Mhm.
But then, as we've covered, you know, Microsoft is moving towards, measurement metrics around Marketplace build sales. So being in Marketplace, being transactable, and hey, it's another great difference that I've noticed since I've come here. It's not just about the cloud platform, it's about the breadth of tools that Microsoft offers. So signing into the ISV Success Program or Founders Hub, that's what is Microsoft good at? Programs, partners, process, and platforms. All those things are very deep and rich here, as much as they can be perceived as complicated. So the ISV Success is about providing, new ISV organizations, and this could be anybody. It could be, just some intellectual property that you've got as a services partner that's adding some customer value. Could that be listed? Could that be commoditized? Could that be automated? ISV Success within Microsoft brings in that intellectual property to the catalog, invests in it. We have a wealth of tools within the likes of Founders Hub, everything that's in the Microsoft portfolio, access to, OpenAI and ChatGPT. Hey, we give our partners access to it here. Access to LinkedIn and Dynamics and the Office Suite and all those kind of good things. It might be incidental, but that's real value and actually helping our partners build on the platform. So for those ISVs, I'd say, come and look at what the Microsoft partner ecosystem is able to deliver. Don't worry that you don't have those relationships today. Take some comfort that these partner management worlds within those services partners have lots of resource and lots of skill and experience within the Microsoft portfolio. There are many people within these big VARs and LSPs and CSPs. The Microsoft teams are huge compared to some other organizations. And we're building out this mechanism and driving this propensity within our partner base. And there's absolutely a big opportunity now to come and get engaged in this world and present your value in this modernizing application portfolio, consumable in a modern way. And it won't be perfect straight away, but the platforms, programs, processes, and partners are all there to bring together. So it's super exciting times. I think whether you're an existing ISV looking to augment your channel organization and do more, or whether you're a net new, just bringing a product to market, there is a huge opportunity to get the best out of channel in this new process.
Could be a great wrap up for our conversation, but I would love to wrap up on a quick question related to next generation of partners. What is the next generation of partners are doing versus those who get sort of stuck in the old mentality, right? And like, if you would advise like a channel partner today who is just starting in Microsoft sort of marketplace with some maybe legacy business outside of it, like what would be your advice?
That opportunity, I'd be advising partners to look at thought leadership within their customer base and actually help their customers understand there is an opportunity for them to be more agile in the way that they deliver applications to their business. And as much as that sounds like it's could be negatively disruptive to that business relationship, actually what I found is it's really positively disruptive, because customers will come back having had a good experience of maybe doing something more in a more agile way for them with a piece of SaaS. Maybe something is delivered more efficiently. It's a new application. Customers will come back and start sharing a lot more information. And I'd also ask partners, I think, some of the focus area needs to be here. What's the marketplace propensity of your existing ISV community, or just IT vendor community? If we look at the maturity of cloud marketplaces of many of the traditional vendors, they are going through huge transformation, either buying or building capability to deliver elastically. So my ask of the partners are, scrutinize your ISV partnerships to say, are you giving best value to your customers, and are you moving fast in that way? And I'm not saying remove those relationships, because they're tried and trusted. They add great value, great customer value. I'm saying scrutinize them to make sure that they are, there's a modernizing element to that. And maybe look at, it's a great phrase, isn't it? We don't know what we don't know. Maybe look at, some of the new elastic vendors, many ISVs that are super successful are cloud marketplace only. They start with cloud marketplaces. The SaaS top 100, I think only 20% of their business is channel sourced. That's a huge opportunity for channel partners to get engaged with those newer SaaS organizations that are starting to deliver elastically through cloud marketplaces that need a channel. And they're the ones that can benefit from the channel partner advising on these adjacencies and bringing together the best bits of these software elements, and then bringing this one value package to their customer. I think that's a huge area of focus and opportunity.
It's a great wrap up for our conversation, and I personally learned a lot, frankly. And like channel partners in the context of marketplaces is not a straightforward thing to understand straight away. So thank you so much for explaining and to sharing your thoughts on the recent trends. I look forward to following you on LinkedIn, and I would recommend everyone to follow you on LinkedIn. Darren Sharpe, I believe, and I will include links. But I hope that we will continue this discussion.
Yeah, I'd love to. Thanks, Roman. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk with you and, share your great partnership and ecosystem insights. Very keen to continue following you as well. So, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today.